Alicia.
I'm Jenna.
Brandon.
Melissa.
Hannah.
Pat.
And today we'll be playing Ellipsis by Nathan Daughtry. And so, referring to the title ellipsis, in the English language, an ellipsis is actually an omission from speech or writing. And in this piece, each of the individual parts, you'll see that they have kind of an ellipsis. They have an omission of their part from the melody. So by ourselves, we may not sound like we have the melody, but together, as the audience, you'll hear the complete melody. We hope you enjoy it.
is gonna kill me because we're not gonna have like time to do stuff. We should do that sometime. Gosh, it was really fun. Like it was genuinely just enjoyable to listen to. Yes. Really enjoyable to listen to. Like really enjoyable to listen to. So I am not familiar with this piece. Thank you for introducing me to the piece. That's for Annie, you guys. I realize this is probably more linear than we would normally set up. If we're going to play in the setup again, let's just maybe stagger the three of you just a little bit more. Just because from an audience perspective, it's like we've made a marching band file, which that is also fun, but let's not do that today. Gosh, you guys, there were so many good things. I wrote a lot of them down. The things that so you guys took care of the obvious things, right? You're playing correct rhythms, playing correct notes. I think for the most part, our technique is looking good. We have to be careful when we play in an ensemble that we don't lose our knowledge of like good wrist strokes. Like we get excited about some big drumming parts, and then we get over to the drums and we start playing a little more arms. And then when we return back to our keyboard instruments, we have kept some of that arm technique that we actually don't need for any of that playing. So just really isolate the wrist. When we play in a percussion ensemble, the vertical alignment is really important. Would you agree? Especially when you have this really dense music like this. Although actually, anytime vertical alignment is important. We're going to be able to align better vertically if we focus on wrist strokes. Right? It's just a more clear for timing. As soon as we start to involve the arm, things are a little bit more ambiguous. That is not to say we would never use the arm in playing. I'm definitely not saying that. It's just when we play in an ensemble, we need things to be pretty cut and dry for timing. Would you agree? For my taste, I think it was at 54, where it's like drumming, there's like the hi-hat, snare, bass drum stuff continues underneath, and then we have this big like gum, 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 those types of figures, down at A16 stuff on the like wood blocks. All of that could have been much louder. I mean, like the bongos screaming loud. It could just be bringing up the tuning, could help with that a little bit. You probably don't have time to switch to sticks. Do you have time to switch?
It asks for 5 minutes.
It does. Well, sometimes, I'm smarter than Nathan Daughtry, so. I'm totally kidding. Those of you who are recording this, I'm totally kidding. I don't know. The intelligence is not important and necessary in this instance, but I would prefer to get more attack sound than your vibe out. So, I think a couple of us have talked about that throughout the day today. When is it okay to go off the page from what the composer has requested? In my opinion, if you are selling it, go off the page. You can always get in touch. I mean, he actually is pretty good about responding via email. I've had students get in touch with him before, so you could email him and ask him what his thoughts are on it. I doubt he would be insulted if we go off the page a little bit there. And the wood blocks, you might want to consider putting a piece of foam underneath them, and the resonance it'll be too much wood block when that happens, which would be a great problem. The one last thing to consider is all the time signature changes you guys did really well with. There was really only once towards the beginning of the piece where I think there was like a little extended 6/8 section where suddenly it felt like, oh gosh, we have lost our groove, and then you got it right back, which is good. You know that Stella got her groove back. Thank you. That was funny. Y'all just need one, right? I tried to keep all of you awake. Maybe you guys are too young. That was the only spot that I felt like groove faltered a little bit. But when we go through lots of time signature changes, we have to make sure that we understand how our part fits in those time signature changes. So like snare drum and hi-hat and bass drum, we want to give a little bit more emphasis, I believe, on those accents that fall on the downbeats of the measures that begin time signature changes. Let me say it one more time because that was a really long sentence. When we have a time signature change, the first measure of the new time signature change, we got to outline that new time signature a little bit more, especially on the first measure. I also think for your audience, they're going to be able to groove along better because you're helping them understand what to listen for. Yeah? Man, it was so great. I enjoyed the timbre change of the bowls of the timpani. It was awesome. I can't wait for the next one. Bring it on.